I'm doing brake lines on an 06 GMC Sierra. This will probably be about the 20th set I've done on this generation of trucks. To start out, first thing I like to do is get the truck picked up on the lift and go around and check the brake bleeders, because the brake bleeders on these trucks are known to rust and sometimes they will break off. This one broke off, so this truck's going to need calipers. If the bleeders are just rusty and you can get them loose, you can buy new bleeders. The reason I like to check this is so I can go ahead and order calipers if I need to, and I also go ahead and start draining all the brake fluid out of the system, so that way when I'm removing the old lines, I don't have as big of a mess of brake fluid on the floor. I'm going to be using brake lines from the dealer. I don't trust the aftermarket lines because if they don't fit properly, it's going to make a tough job even tougher. You can see that this truck has already had a couple of brake lines replaced. The one going to the front of the master cylinder has been replaced. It's what I like to call a free floating brake line, because whoever replaced it left the old brake line still in the truck and then just ran it from point A to point B and no holders. So after going around and checking the bleeders and trying to get them loose and draining the brake fluid out of the truck, I like to draw a diagram of how the brake lines are on the truck. This is how they are at the ABS pump. This is how they are at the bracket coming off the ABS pump. This is how they come up the frame, and this is the front of the frame, so I know how they go. And I also take several pictures, because getting them back in the holders properly makes the job go a lot easier. Also, check your rear brake line if you get the brake lines from the dealership, because the kit from the dealer does not include the rear axle line. So you may need to make your own line if it is bad. Sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're not. So after drawing the diagram, I'm ready to go ahead and remove the old lines. What I like to do is take a pair of side cutters, good sharp ones, and just cut the old lines off. And after you cut them off, you can stick a socket and ratchet on there and easily remove the fitting from the hose or the ABS pump or master cylinder, wherever you are. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, get all the lines out of here. Alright, now I have all the brake lines removed except for the line going to the rear axle. I'll deal with that when I go to reinstall it. Also forgot to mention that I had the negative battery cable disconnected and the left front inner fenders removed. Also makes it a little easier if you disconnect the left front wheel speed sensor and take this wire out of the holder to fish the old lines out. I have the new brake line kit laid out now. I'm going to go ahead and straighten the shipping bends. The brake lines need straightened between the pieces of tape, so I'll go ahead and get that done so the lines will be ready to go on the truck. I have the shipping bends all straightened out of the brake lines, so now I'm ready to start putting the brake lines on the truck. I'm going to start with the left front line. The reason I'm going with the left front is you can see it goes in the bottom of the holder, then the right front goes on top of it. The left front line is in, it's tight at the hose, it's in all the holders that attach to the frame. There's a few holders here that just secure the lines together that need to be put on, but I'll wait and put those on after all the lines are in. So now I'm going to put the right line in. So now I'm going to put the line that goes to the right front in. If you have a four-wheel drive truck, you will need to remove a cover that goes from here down to the frame. Now I'm going to install the right front line. This works easier if you have an assistant to help guide the line through. I'm going to start. You can see we're fishing the right front line up through the truck. It's hanging down there. So we'll proceed with pushing it through some more. You can see the right front line is getting most of the way in. So now we need to get the passenger side of the line also up in the frame as we're pushing it back. So we have two sides of the line that need to be watched. You may notice the right front inner fender is also out. It does not have to come out to do brake lines, but this truck is getting transmission oil cooler lines, and it makes that job easier. So now I have the two lines to do that go to the master cylinder. Since the master cylinder front is on the bottom in the frame side holders, that's going to be the first one I do. So now I'm ready to install the master cylinder front line. I'm going to work it in down through from the top here down to the ABS pump. So now that all the front lines are installed on the truck, I'm going to work on removing the rear line. To make removing and installing the rear line easier, what I'm going to do is loosen the bolts and the bed so that the bed can be picked up, so I have a little bit of room, because the line runs on the inside of the frame rail up close to the top. Now I've loosened the 2 bolts on the driver's side of the bed at the front. I have the bed safely supported with a board. You can see how much more room I have between the frame and the truck bed now. You can see the new brake line that somebody has installed. Plus the old line is still in there, so I need to remove both of these lines now. They also used a compression fitting, which is a big no-no. I let the bed back down temporarily because my support was in the way, but you can see how I have the line started. It's going in up underneath the filler neck. It's running down through in the right location. Then what I'll do, once I get it up to the ABS pump is, I'll jack the bed up. I'll take this bolt out and I can slide it over the frame rail and down into the holders. Now the rear line is started in the ABS pump, so now I can jack the bed up and slip it over the frame rail. The line's attached at the rear axle, so now I'm ready to go along and pop the line down in all the holders on the frame. Brake line that goes to the rear axle is tight at the hose. It's in all the holders up the frame. Then I let the bed back down and have the bed bolts tightened. And the line is tight at the ABS pump. I have the wire loom in the holders on the side of the frame. You can see how nice the lines look in the holders. So the only things left to do now are reinstall the inner fender and bleed the brakes, and that'll make a complete job.